have a special presentation. And this presentation is like a charm box. So if you remember your improv in the morning, okay.
Okay, I didn't think something's going to happen.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm going to spare you 0 slides. And then I'm going to offer a quick comment on why it's so hard to take it home. It's because you're all deaf. So my big ideas, you get nothing. The innovator's idea, nobody gets it. So I'm going to try an example. I'm still in time zone fatigue from Potsdam, Germany, where we attended a symposium on the next new thing in design, which we're calling neurodesign, using neuroscience instruments to study you while you're working on all that stuff. And one of the people there, who is a graduate of our lab, Jonathan Edelman, is pushing design as performance. The very opposite of systems engineering. My dear Rieko, can you put up her slide of drug development?
Yes.
Because in every one of those boxes, there's a deaf person. And even worse, she's skeptical. And there's some very nice piece of research done by Malte Jung that showed that when a group of us work together, the most important factor in our performance is our emotion exchange. That accounts for over 85% of performance, pure emotion. None of the slide bullshit counts. The data, the numbers, the facts, humans work with emotions. And yeah, we tried to overcome it. You did a nice job. But
Thank you.
Still overcoming that emotion stuff. And I want to share with Greg a piece of this notion that innovation is a performing art. Well, performance, and Jonathan's metaphor is that it's jazz, improvisational jazz. And we have a very nice neuroscience result that looked at this team. And they said, when you're playing music from memory, a little piece of your brain is activated. When he's playing jazz improvisationally, a big piece of his brain is active, and it's different. So the difference between doing what's expected and improvisation, thinking differently, responding in the moment to how others around you are performing, that's part of neuroscience has helped confirm that there's a huge difference. And using neuroscience instruments, we can now visualize brain activity. And to try to scare you a little bit, each of you is now wearing a cap, and we're doing brain scanning every 10 seconds. And the researchers call that multi-scanning, but it means we can see changes in your brain activity down at the 10-second slice level. Huge. He hits a bad note on his guitar, and you correct it with a good note on your trumpet. I made it up. So it's a performing art, and I think Adi expects me to do something with that stuff. I'll try to do it briefly. But let me remind you, there's a deaf person in every box. And the deaf person is also skeptical. So the most negative emotion you can show me is condescension. And that's very close to skeptical. We heard what the man showed us, and we saw what you guys heard what he said. I didn't, I'm a deaf guy. That's part of my metaphor. Deaf? Ooh, that's a different life. And now I can project that other people are deaf even though they claim to hear. Now, I assume that Adi thinks, but let me use this as the big new idea.
Yeah.
Now, how are we going to take it from there to all those people who need to understand? And Adi is actually inviting me to do something I did in a video a while back. What does the path home look like? Well, that's good enough. The main message is, unlike some of us who in this damn room think there's a map of the future, the map is very tortured and changing all the time. And as I try to move that big idea forward, here's one of those deaf people who's skeptical. And he forces me to go somewhere else. And sure enough, if I try to get here, we've got another deaf person who's skeptical. And I think I should try to be a little short. I have to get to my teaching. And the message would be that as you try to get your big idea home, you go through all these different stages of skepticism and failure to really comprehend what you're up to, the deaf part. And this has been our experience over and over again. And the big issue right now is we now have neuroscience to look in their brains. Also to help these guys think different. I'm not sure where I'm going, but that's kind of the main point, is that the path up here to those boss guys at headquarters is really torturous. And each of these waypoints is maybe a different business unit in your corporation. And part of this act comes from working with Jean-Claude Juncker, who led Panasonic's R&D development lab to innovate. And we did projects with him in my class for several years. And then it came to being a workshop with his staff. And for the first 2 days, they did really well. And they collaborated with each other. And then we said, now, on the third day, take it home. And the people in the workshop immediately started fighting. What do you mean? This dumb guy doesn't know how to wear a white shirt to the meeting. So they argued very vocally and aggressively with each other, and that became part of the message. At each stage, you're encountering, throw it away, get rid of it. It's a disturbance to our system. Besides that, I didn't get what you said. Or put differently, I might actually hear and see what was presented, but do I understand? And that for me was visualized by Riego's metabolic. So that metabolic diagram was unbelievably complex. We might think we know something about it, but Sharik and Sherry have two very different metabolics. And somewhere on top of all that metabolism sits that brain thing. And it probably guides you to the next move, the next piece of the dance. It is really hard to take it home. And one lesson we've learned is that if Chris actually comes up with an innovation, which we call wow design and wow engineering, then he has to do a wow new business model. So if you're trying to take it home to the existing business model, they shoot you dead real quickly, because the way home is filled with cannibals. They either want to eat you or your idea. Dead you are. If you come up with a different business model, say, hey, forget about you guys, we're going over here. We got a new model. Then you might have a chance. No guarantees, but you might have it. Bob, I had to see your name in writing because I was just with Bob in Potsdam, and I was shocked to see him here. But I think I recognized him, but I wasn't sure it could have been Joseph. Which is actually another piece of the ambiguity story. Each of us is more capable of recognizing people from our own mother culture. And as we get across cultures and across races, we're less able to remember and recall at will. So Baba, I choose the short version, is in Jonathan's group, and his name is here. And I suspect you're trying to build this thing. So this is a prototype in its very early stages, and maybe in another year there'll be an online version. So let me try to pause and invite questions.
So Larry, I'm going through exactly this process, creating a commodities exchange for outer space.
Let me beg you to write something.
Okay.
I am creating maybe space, community exchange,
Yes,
space for community exchange.
Commodity.
commodities.
Actually, let me jump sideways on this. Let me comment to you that you're probably communities,
Commodity.
commodities, okay.
I guess,
I can read it, but I'm not sure what that means.
right.
So let me try to reprogram your thinking. You've probably all heard of design thinking. And you've probably heard that much of the world thinks it's human-centered design. And we have a debate going on in my research lab right now with this young lady representing computer science on Mars. And she spent a year living in the Mars simulator in a volcano in Hawaii. And she came back from that experience and said, I didn't live with 8 humans. I lived with 8 people. Every damn one different. And this notion of human-centered, I find in class, causes students to think in generalities about who the human might be. It's a category, it's not an individual. And so we're going through the notion that we don't need human-centered AI. We need people-centered AI. The AI for Zen may be very different than for Sherry. And that's a challenge to the AI community, that it's just beginning to realize that the people context is crucial to AI delivering something of value. So thank you for letting me run on. Adi, thank you for the opportunity. And waving at Shao, I just learned that Wendy Drew is collaborating with a researcher in Israel to understand how Israeli drivers interact with autonomous cars differently than California drivers. So one of you presented a group of different cultural contexts, and all that comes down to life and death in that autonomous car. Can you trust it or not? Can it trust you? And what we found in our research is, even if I give you 10 seconds to take over, I'm the autonomous car, 10 seconds, think about it. That's a long way on the freeway. You will crash with that danger up ahead 80% of the time. That was measured in a driving simulator. We don't do that on the road because it would kill you. So all of this stuff that we're exploring right now is real life and death, and reinventing the cities. What is the notion of resilience? All of that is up for grabs. And what is a commodity next year? Thank you for letting me act out.
Ade, could I make 2 points? I'm sorry, Larry. Can't.
Yeah, but you can't hear.
I know, and so I don't know how to handle this.
Yeah. Yeah.
The 2 points very quickly. So I am creating a space commodities exchange, and I'm dealing exactly with the problems that Larry was talking about, to convince each different group within the national defense establishment why this is a good thing. And what I wanted to add, which I can't write fast enough for me here, is that each of those blockers actually give me the ammunition to go to the next point. They tell me how not to get stopped. So it's not the negative as much as the positive, in my experience.
Okay. I will transcribe that for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me assume that your comment was for the group as a whole and not critical, then I get it.
No.
I like and am actually kind of amused at your periodic table in the sense of trying to take the world of atomic science and map it to humans. Maybe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll
You
have...
get to keep the impossible path
Yes.
from the class.
Okay, thanks. Okay, that was really part of the very, very, I'm happy he was able to do that, because this notion that our exploration is going to use different modalities, and this has been one mode that Larry has consistently tried to do, which is
Positive,
to
good.
demonstrate and act things out. So that will be, that's a key part of our presentation as we look at the map, which is a visual, we look at the more embodied, and that will continue.